The Jothic Memorial stood in silent vigil at the edge of Outpost Krev 9, a towering crystalline structure that hummed with bioluminescent light. Each name etched into its surface represented a warrior who had fallen defending the colony from human incursions. For 3 cycles, someone had been leaving offerings at its base, small packages wrapped in crude paper, tokens that appeared overnight like ghosts. Commander Vexthor couldn't understand it. His people were at war with humanity, locked in a brutal conflict over disputed territories in the Outer Rim. Yet every 7 planetary rotations, new gifts appeared. Preserved rations, medical supplies, even handmade trinkets carved from wood and stone. The security feeds showed nothing. The perimeter sensors detected no breach. It was as if the items materialized from thin air. "Another one," his second-in-command, Officer Krillna, announced one morning, her mandibles clicking with agitation. Vexthor descended from the command center to examine the latest offering. Unlike the previous packages, this one came with a note written in crude Jothic script, "For those who fought with honor." "Impossible," Vexthor hissed, his dorsal spines rising. But Krillna had already pulled up reconnaissance data on her datapad. "Sir, there's only one human prisoner from this sector who survived long enough to potentially learn our tongue. Prisoner designation, Luis." Luis. The name stirred something in Vexthor's memory. He had been there at Thren Canyon, had watched human soldiers fight with a ferocity that defied logic. They should have surrendered when their position became untenable, but they didn't. They held the line so their colonists could evacuate. Luis had been found unconscious among the dead, clutching a broken rifle and a photograph. Vexthor demanded. "Released 2 cycles ago as part of the prisoner exchange," Krillna replied. "Then how?" "Sir, I cross-referenced our patrol schedules with the appearance of the gifts," she interrupted, her voice tight. "Every time a package appears, our guard rotation creates a 47-second gap in surveillance of Sector 7. Vexthor's blood chilled. The pieces fell into place with horrifying clarity. The human had studied them, learned their patterns, their language, their culture, and instead of using that knowledge to strike at them, he had been leaving gifts. "Deploy surveillance drones," Vexthor ordered. "Maximum coverage." Imkamiki. 6 planetary rotations passed. On the 7th, the drones captured him. Luis moved through the darkness with practiced silence, his enhanced military suit dampening his thermal signature. He carried a small pack on his back and wore no weapons, a detail that troubled Vexthor more than if he'd been armed. An unarmed human infiltrating an enemy outpost made no tactical sense. The drones tracked Luis to the memorial. He knelt before it, producing another wrapped package from his pack. But this time, he lingered. His gloved hand reached out and traced one of the names carved into the crystal. Warrior Thelvik. Vexthor recognized that name. Thelvik had died at Thren Canyon, killed by human fire while covering her squad's retreat. Through the drone's audio feed, Vexthor heard Luis speak in halting Jothic. "I'm sorry. You fought well." "Surround him," Vexthor commanded, already moving toward the memorial. "Non-lethal force only." By the time Vexthor arrived, Luis was surrounded by a dozen armed soldiers, their weapons trained on his chest. The human didn't resist. He simply stood with his hands raised, his face visible through his helmet's transparent faceplate. He looked older than Vexthor remembered, eyes haunted, face lined with exhaustion. Vexthor demanded, stepping through the circle of soldiers. Luis was silent for a long moment. When he spoke, his Jothic was rough but understandable. "During my captivity, I learned about your people, your culture." Luis shook his head firmly. "I learned it because I killed some of them. At Thren Canyon, I killed Thelvik and 3 others. I pulled the trigger because it was my duty, because they were enemy combatants. But they were also soldiers like me. They fought bravely." He gestured to the memorial. When I was released, I couldn't stop thinking about the warriors I'd killed. Vexthor felt his worldview tilting. You could have been killed. I know, Luis said simply. Krilna stepped forward, her weapon still raised. Commander, he's admitted to killing our warriors. But Vexthor held up a restraining hand. He thought of the packages that had appeared over the past cycles, the carefully wrapped offerings, the respectful notes, the consistency of this human's vigil despite the danger. Luis had not been gathering intelligence or sabotaging their defenses. He had been mourning. Tell me, Vexthor said quietly, the photograph you carried at Thren Canyon. Pain flashed across Luis's face. My sister, Luisa. She was a medic on a civilian transport. And I'm sorry for yours, Luis replied, nodding toward the memorial. In that moment, Vexthor understood something fundamental about humans that all the intelligence briefings had failed to convey. They were capable of holding two truths simultaneously, that war was necessary, and that those they fought against were still worthy of dignity. They could kill without hatred, mourn without weakness. Lower your weapons, Vexthor commanded. Krilna's voice pitched with disbelief. Vexthor turned to Luis. You will leave now. You will not return. But know this, human. Your gifts have been received and appreciated. Luis bowed his head in acknowledgement. As the human disappeared into the darkness, Krilna approached Vexthor. Vexthor watched until Luis vanished from sight. Perhaps not today. Perhaps not for many cycles. The memorial hummed softly in the night, its crystal surface reflecting starlight. At its base lay the latest offering, a small wooden carving of a Jathic warrior, crafted by human hands with painstaking care.